Did a single sentence from Mariah Carey just crack Sean Diddy Combs' empire wide open? That question lit up every phone screen outside the federal courthouse on May 29, 2025, the moment the pop icon's name leaked from a sealed witness list. Inside, fluorescent lights hummed, lawyers shuffled paper, and a judge who had already heard 3 weeks of lurid accusations prepared for the loudest gasp yet. Across social media, the words Mariah and Testifies blew past 1 million mentions before lunch. What no one knew, what no one could have known, was that a rumor almost 2 decades old was about to roar back to life louder than any high note Carey ever recorded. The trial itself was already a circus. Federal prosecutors accused Diddy of building a covert pipeline, private jets, 5-star hotels, bodyguards with whispered instructions, and hand-picked parties where influence morphed into something darker. Former partners, assistants, and drivers claimed they watched fear traded like currency. One ex-girlfriend, testifying under the alias Jane, sobbed while recalling the night she says Combs ordered her to entertain an escort in front of strangers. Defense attorneys painted her as jealous. The next morning, reporters described jurors shifting in their seats as if the room temperature had quietly spiked. And then came a new name, one that was never supposed to be dragged into the mud. Rumors about Mariah Carey's sealed summons began with a single line in court. Transcripts. Executive Assistant Capricorn Clark said she once overheard Diddy compare Cassie's stage presence to legends like Whitney and Mariah. To anyone reading quickly, it looked like praise. But online sleuths seized on the citation number and claimed it showed Carey was next to testify. Within hours, YouTube thumbnails screamed Mariah Carey breaks silence courtroom gasps. One Facebook live stream layered AI-generated voice over a stock courtroom photo, and millions believed they were watching real-time footage. The truth: Mariah Carey had not walked through those double doors yet, but the Hampton story long buried under gossip blogs and a black envelope stuffed with hush cachet now threatened to rise like smoke from dry ice. Flashback to July 19, 2003. A private retreat on Long Island's eastern tip. A mansion so large guests joked it needed its own zip code. Carey arrived after filming a dawn to dusk video shoot, coaxed by her manager's promise that everybody who matters would be there. When her limo rolled past the first security gate, she caught sight of a second checkpoint lined by bodyguards with earpieces, as if the entire coastline had been cordoned off for a secret summit. Inside, moguls mingled with chart toppers. Some faces she knew. Others, she swore, were simply watching, taking mental notes on who entered which room. Just after 10, Carey tried to slip away. Instead, she says, Diddy cornered her with a glass of something neon in his hand. His smile was almost studied as he asked if she'd visit the VIP lounge. She politely declined. He insisted. The lounge turned out to be a velvet-lit den no bigger than a dressing room. 2 huge men closed the door behind them. That's when he allegedly uttered the sentence that would echo for 22 years. If they find out what I really do, it's over. There was no wink, no playful shrug. The words hung there, heavy, the way ceilings sometimes feel lower after a lightning strike. Carey left without responding, heart hammering. Outside, oceanside wind carried muffled bass, but the night suddenly felt colder. She made it back to Manhattan before dawn. The next afternoon, a concierge knocked on her St. Regis suite with a matte black package, $100,000 in crisp hundreds. No return address, no text, except a single card reading for the time you have to spare. Enjoy the evening, S. She jammed the cash back into the box, shoved the box into the hotel safe, and told no one except her manager, who warned, "Do not start a war you can't see." For years, she kept the memory locked alongside that unused money, mailed back anonymously once the fear eased. But fear has a way of making interest growing quietly until it demands repayment. Silence, however, never comes free. By early 2004, three high-profile award shows that normally begged for Carey's appearance suddenly couldn't confirm her seat. A fragrance deal evaporated without explanation. Industry friends fed her lines like, "It's not healthy to revisit certain nights," as if the very word healthy had been repurposed into a velvet threat. She shrugged, kept recording, kept winning chart records, but began noticing patterns. People linked to that 2003 party either retreated from public life or reinvented themselves under new management, new cities, and, rumor has it, new NDAs. With 7-digit payouts, one name she never forgets: Lana. A mid-level marketing executive who confessed at the party she'd wandered into a side room by accident. Lana claimed she'd seen someone filming a man signing papers under bright studio lights. Papers, she swore, looked more like release forms than autographs. Lana disappeared from the industry months later. Carey received a voicemail: "I shouldn't have seen it. Be careful." The message was erased by a studio intern the same afternoon. Whether by mistake or design, no one knows. All of that might have remained rock solid. Rumor until the 2025 trial cracked old vaults open. Inside the courthouse, prosecutors leaned hard on a central theme: intimidation backed by money. Witness after witness described payoffs: bands of cash delivered in glossy bags, cars transferred overnight, sudden medical bill donations when someone threatened to speak. Business Insider and ABC News both reported sealed bankwire spreadsheets linking shell companies to event reimbursements, totaling millions. The black envelope story fit that pattern too perfectly to ignore. As the gallery buzzed over whether Mariah would take the stand, Diddy's attorneys tried to preempt her. They filed a motion calling any rumored testimony irrelevant star commentary, but the judge denied it. Star power, he noted, was central to how the alleged scheme functioned. Behind closed doors, both legal teams scrambled to verify whether Carey still had that envelope. Word leaked that a courier left the courthouse with a subpoena dated June 3rd. Reporters tracked the courier to an undisclosed Manhattan law office. No one confirmed if Carey handed over the package, but the very idea of its existence threw the defense on the defensive. By now, every algorithm in the social universe had latched on. TikTok loops set her whispered quote to ominous strings. Twitter replaced trending topic icons with butterflies morphing into cash stacks, one rolling stone column called her the domino poised to topple hip-hop's last untouchable oligarch. If she walks in, jurors won't just hear another allegation, a veteran courtroom reporter tweeted. They'll feel an industry hierarchy collapsing in real time. Prosecutors smelled momentum. They lined up fresh witnesses, tour managers, rideshare drivers, even a hotel night clerk who allegedly saw suitcases swapped between middlemen. Defense counsel objected to the avalanche of names, but the judge reminded them that racketeering by definition knits separate events into one monster. Meanwhile, executives who once raved about Diddy's unmatched energy began sanitizing. LinkedIn pages removing old bad boy logos like scarlet letters. Artists quietly pulled guest verses from streaming playlists, citing pending legal review. One photographer who'd shot Combs for a magazine cover captioned her archived image, "Respect to every survivor finding their voice." The dominoes kept falling. Back in court, a prosecutor posed one blunt question to former assistant Capricorn Clark: were NDAs used to purchase silence? Clark's answer: let's just say some documents were thicker than others. She hinted that at least 2 senior label executives were ready to talk after witnessing the uproar around Carey. Those executives, we now know, filed motions for limited immunity testimony scheduled for the week after next. And that points to the real quake. Truth scales when somebody famous refuses to stay quiet long enough for the hush money to clear. Carey may never sing about this night, but the note she hits in court could resonate longer than any radio single. A single rumor can topple a carefully stacked pyramid of secrets. By dawn on June 4th, the day after Capricorn Clark's blunt testimony, music industry inboxes overflowed with frantic subject lines. Emergency comes, asset containment. NDA audit to mediate. Some executives locked phones inside Faraday pouches just to huddle without the fear of an accidental hot mic. Others booked flights to jurisdictions where subpoena servers moved slower than private jets. But the panic didn't stay behind boardroom doors. Overnight, anonymous Dropbox links began surfacing in reporters' D-Misteaser folders labeled BAD. Boy ledgers, Hampton's guest list, private flight logs. Inside each zip file, partial spreadsheets, redacted invoices, and grainy scans of non-disclosure agreements signed under shell company logos that read like parody velvet. Eclipse LLC, Gilded Promise Holdings, Urban Monarch Events. Journalists compared notes and spotted the same pattern every time. Dates, payouts, and references to post-evening care packages. Issued within 48 hours of closed-door gatherings. The dots aligned a little too neatly with Mariah Carey's Lost Weekend in 2003, and the more dots appeared, the less the old guard could pretend coincidence. At 9:17 a.m. on June 6th, Rolling Stone broke the next dam, 2 former Bad Boy vice presidents' identities hidden behind code names. Atlas and Finch had negotiated limited immunity deals in exchange for sealed testimony. Their lawyers briefed prosecutors on a trove of internal emails demonstrating systematic suppression of reputational threats. Translation: receipts for hush money burner phone handoffs, and security briefings that described VIP lounge architecture down to the placement of hidden cameras. By noon, stock in the publicly traded media conglomerate that distributed Diddy's vodka and clothing line plummeted 23%. Cable hosts who once toasted him with syrupy nostalgia now aired split-screen timelines. 2001 VMAs gives 2003 Hamptons gives 2005. Threat Tape gives 2010 Lifetime Achievement snub gives 2025 federal indictments. The shape of the story crystallized into a cautionary graph sex climbing one axis. Unanswered rumors tracking the other, both lines destined to intersect. Somewhere in that freefall, a familiar face resurfaced. A podcaster known for deep dive. True crime episodes released a trailer titled Finding Lana. A voice cloaked by audio filters repeated the same words that haunted Carey's studio voicemail 2 decades earlier. I shouldn't have seen that. You should be careful too. The podcaster, whose team scoured old PR rosters, traced half a social security number to a woman now living off-grid in coastal Oregon. The timing felt too poetic to ignore. Listeners ballooned past 1 million in 48 hours. Inside the courthouse, defense lawyers silently updated witness tampering spreadsheets. Every new headline was another crack in the levee. The defense needed a counterpunch, and fast. They gambled on spectacle. June 10th. They dragged a platinum-selling rapper stage name, Mythic, to court, hoping he'd praise Combs as a benevolent mentor. Instead, Mythic melted under cross-examination. Prosecutor: did Mr. Combs ever instruct you to sign an NDA before attending a private function? Mythic: I mean, we all do NDAs. Standard stuff. Prosecutor: standard enough that your signature appears on 3 separate agreements marked special. Events v. IP silence tier. Mythic glances at counsel, swallows, I guess. Jurors flinched every time a document flashed on the screen. Line items labeled post-incident stipend. Medical discreet relocation fund. One sheet referenced a May 2018 yacht party that Mythic had never admitted attending, let alone hosting private suite guests. When cornered, he murmured, "I was told it was her idea." then covered his mic while whispering to his attorney. Defense counsel objected repeatedly, but the damage stuck. Cable analysts compared the unraveling to a game of Jenga Paul, out to many blocks, and the tower collapses in plain view. Monday, June 16, 2025. Gray skies threatened rain above Lower Manhattan. Reporters pressed against barricades. Camera lenses formed a black bouquet. At 8:03 a.m., a modest black SUV rolled to the curb. Security emerged first, then a figure in tailored white coat belted tight around a silhouette. The world recognized long before the sunglasses lifted. Mariah Carey ignored shouted questions. She moved with steady, almost glacial poise, like someone who'd rehearsed this entrance on a stage 1,000 times bigger. No entourage parade, no label rep trailing behind, just a single lawyer clutching a slim folio. Social media erupted. She's here. Inside, the gallery's hum tapered into a hush so total that jurors' pens scraping paper sounded amplified. Carey took the oath, voice calm. Her attorney confirmed she would not invoke Fifth Amendment protections. She was here, she said, to clear a debt to the truth. Her direct examination unfolded like a novella, one gripping scene after another. No wasted exposition. She described the Hamptons mansion in sensory snapshots, sea spray hanging in. The night air, music vibrating floor tiles, faint whiff of cigars laced with something sweeter. She repeated the sentence that tethered every rumor. If they find out what I really do, it's over. Under oath, the words vibrated with fresh gravity, as though the trial had found its keynote, and then she produced the envelope, sealed. In clear evidence wrap, serial numbers on the cash logged by a private security firm months earlier. The courtroom collectively leaned forward. One juror blinked hard, a tick the pool reporter captured in a single sentence. He looked like a man watching the ocean recede before a tidal wave. Defense counsel objected on Chenov custody grounds. Overruled. Prosecutors asked Carey to confirm the handwriting, swooping letter S like a signature turned to smoke. She said the loops were identical to a Christmas card she received from Combs' staff in 1999. Spreadsheet entries from the leaked Dropbox lined up to the dollar. The hush money had an invoice trail after all. News anchors barely paused for commercials. Markets adjusted in real time. The spirits conglomerate pulled Diddy-branded vodka from European shelves, pending investigation. A streaming giant froze royalty payouts on Bad Boy Masters and issued a press statement referencing ethical licensing clauses. Memes sprouted like mushrooms. Carey in superhero armor blocking tidal waves of cash. Diddy staring at a domino falling toward a skyscraper labeled Old Guard music. More startling within 24 hours, 6 additional witnesses contacted prosecutors. 2 were dancers from early 2000s music videos. 1 was a yacht steward with guest list logs. Another was a private doctor who'd treated anonymous injuries matching past incident dates. Each claimed Carey's testimony unlocked something they'd hidden. Rolling Stone updated its headline. The dam just burst. Cornered Diddy's team requested an emergency recess to review new evidence. The judge granted 48 hours, no more. Word leaked that they'd hired a digital forensics firm to challenge the Dropbox files as deep dub forgeries. Prosecutors countered by subpoenaing server logs from the very same shell companies. They showed creation dates years before generative AI tools even existed. In a stunning twist, the defense's star IT expert shifted sides when confronted with tampering directives in an email chain bearing the subject line "Sandbox the cache files." He agreed to a proffer session. If his testimony proved credible, he'd avoid perjury charges. Diddy's lead attorney visibly paled at the next hearing. His surprise witness had just detonated in his hands. June 23rd. Closing argument day. The gallery overflowed producers, journalists, interns on folding chairs. Prosecutors painted their timeline: decades of intimidation disguised as generosity, NDAs weaponized like silencers, luxury relabeled as leashes. And at the center, the brand builder who kept his empire polished enough that most people chose not to look for seams. Defense counsel tried. Pivoting, Sean Combs is a dreamer whose generosity is being twisted into crime. But the narrative felt airless, trapped in a pre-TikTok media era where glossy press releases still plugged holes. Jurors watched silently, expressionless. Finally, prosecutor Aria Duarte faced them, index finger on the binder labeled People v. Combs. Hush money only works until someone with nothing left to fear stands up, she said. Mariah Carey didn't testify for a payout, a headline, or a revival tour. She testified because secrets by silence ends till silence starts costing more than speaking. No one coughed, no one shifted. The words landed like a gavel before. The real gavel even lifted. The jury would deliberate for days, perhaps weeks. Yet outside, the verdict had begun to write itself. Young artists tweeted contracts with redlined clauses, vowing never to sign blind NDAs again. One indie label announced a transparent event code. No locked phones, no offer courtrooms tagging it. #Mariah Clause. Playlists curators slid vintage tracks by undercredited singers into rotation. Captions reading, "Give the unheard their streams." And for the first time since the trial opened, Diddy looked smaller than the story swirling around him. Like a man watching fortune turn from tailwind to riptide in public view. He sat hunched over the defense table, thumb worrying. A frayed edge of paper, as if searching for a loose thread he could still pull. But the tapestry was unraveling faster than his hands could work. Outside the courthouse, dusk-painted skyscraper windows rose gold. Carey exited through a side door, same white coat, envelope now safely in federal custody. A journalist shouted, "Do you feel vindicated?" She stopped, turned slightly, and answered so softly that only the closest boom mic caught it. "I feel free. Freedom." It rang in the air, weightless yet ringing like a bell. Perhaps that was the real high note, the one a recording studio could never quite capture. And for everyone watching, the question now floated larger than any single verdict. If truth really is Mariah Carey's new octave, how many more voices will rise to match her pitch? Because when legends abandon fear, the silence shatters and the echoes don't ask permission before they spread. Stay tuned. The jury's still out. The witnesses keep multiplying. And the industry's curtain is no longer thick enough to hide what the spotlight finally sees.